All right, welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving deep into a seriously fascinating piece of animated horror storytelling from the channel Shadow Scares. We're going to analyze the chilling events of Chav Village and systematically break down the terrifying lore of its deadly black rain. And as we go through the source material today, you'll see how a seemingly simple ghost story is actually a total masterclass in conflicting narratives and suspense.
So, think about this. What would you do if the rain literally brought the dead right to your doorstep? The source material hooks us instantly by setting up this profoundly eerie atmospheric premise. You see, in Chaba Village, a storm isn't just a weather event, it's a supernatural siege. When the clouds gather and the thunder rolls, the villagers aren't just hiding from the rain, they're hiding from the deceased. We're thrown straight into this high-stakes environment where a simple mistake during a downpour is literally a matter of life and sudden death.
Section 1. The Deadly Rains Rules.
Okay, let's jump right in by looking at the incredibly strict survival protocols enforced by the village head, a man known as Mukiaji. When that thunder starts rolling, this guy becomes the absolute authority. There are exact steps every single villager must follow as the storm approaches. Step 1, rush home immediately. Step 2, and the source material emphasizes how absolutely crucial this one is, turn off all mobile phones. And Step 3, close doors, windows, and draw the curtains. It's basically a full lockdown protocol executed with military precision across the entire village.
Now, what's genuinely fascinating here is the specific reason behind drawing the curtains. When Mukiaji's son, Chintu, asks why they need curtains if the windows are already locked tight, his dad reveals a terrifying truth. The curtains in Chava aren't just for privacy or, blocking the view of the storm. They are literally a psychological shield. They're drawn to prevent the living from making eye contact with the entities outside, so they don't fall into their hypnotic traps. Mukiaji explicitly warns that anyone who looks, who engages, or who listens to the deceptions of the dead outside simply does not survive.
Section 2. The Ghost at the Window.
This brings us right to the inciting incident of the story. While young Chintu is busy securing the curtains, he faces a truly terrifying encounter. He hears the voice of his mother, Navia, saying, "I am alive. I just lost my way. Open the door or I'll get wet in the rain." This is incredibly sinister. The supernatural entity uses the familiar, loving voice of Chintu's deceased mother to manipulate his childhood innocence. It actively contradicts the father's teachings, insisting she isn't dead at all, just lost. And it leverages Chintu's guilt by claiming she'll get completely soaked in the storm if he doesn't help her.
Driven by just, pure confusion and love for his mom, Chintu breaks the ultimate rule. He opens the door. But he opens it to absolutely nothing. An empty void. There's no one there. The tension absolutely peaks as Chintu calls out to his mother into the howling storm. It takes the immediate, desperate intervention of his father, Mukiaji, who cuts all the power, plunging the house into total darkness, and aggressively pulls Chintu into a secure room. And even as the voice continues to taunt them from outside, the father forces Chintu to stay completely silent and go to sleep, promising he'll give him answers in the morning.
Section 3. The Tree of Death.
So the storm finally passes, and our explainer basically turns into an active crime scene investigation. We follow the father and son to the very edge of the village. Mukiaji takes Chintu to this massive, thick tree on the outskirts to explain exactly what happened 5 months prior. Let's walk through his timeline of events. 1. Night falls while he and Navia are returning from the city, leaving them totally stranded outside as the deadly storm begins. 2. With all the village doors already locked, they desperately attempt to hide behind this very tree. 3. As they run for cover, Navia falls behind, and tragically her mobile phone rings. 4. Mukiaji hears her echoing screams, and she completely vanishes without a trace. According to him, he waited there all night only to be told by the villagers the next morning that Navia now wanders the rain as a ghost.
And that perfectly sums up the established local lore, right? Mukiaji is absolutely firm with his son about this. The entity at the window last night was a dangerous supernatural deception. It was not Chintu's real mother. The dead do not return as living humans. They wander the rain as ghosts, trying to trick the living into making fatal mistakes. It's a totally tragic, but entirely cohesive explanation of the village's terrifying reality.
Section 4. A Shocking Revelation.
So here's where things get wild. This entire, firmly established lore gets completely flipped on its head by just one perfectly logical question. Enter Rahul, this cynical villager who openly mocks the storm protocols. Chintu overhears Rahul asking, "How did Mukiaji survive if everyone outside dies?" I mean, it's brilliant in its simplicity. If these entities kill absolutely everyone caught outside, How on earth did the village head survive an entire night just hiding behind a tree? This single question sparks massive doubt in Chintu and turns the young boy into a makeshift investigator.
Driven by this new doubt, Chintu makes a frankly incredibly dangerous decision. Instead of rushing home as another storm begins to brew and the village goes into panic lockdown, he actually follows Rahul right into his house. The stakes are instantly raised. The deadly rain is threatening the village once again, the warning shouts are echoing through the streets, but Chintu's desperate need for the truth completely overrides his fear of the storm.
And honestly, this right here brilliantly illustrates the core mystery of our explainer today. We suddenly have two completely different testimonies of the mother's death, placed side by side like conflicting witness statements in a courtroom. Mukherjee claims they were separated, her phone rang, and she vanished into thin air to become a ghost, but Rahul, whose house is right next to that thick tree, claims he saw everything from his window. And his version of events is entirely, wildly different.
Let's break down the incredibly violent specifics of Rahul's eyewitness account. Rahul claims Navya didn't just vanish into thin air. No, he says her phone rang, and she actually answered it. And the very moment she said hello, a massive, bomb-like bolt of lightning struck her directly from the sky. She was instantly incinerated to ash. No ghosts, no vanishing, just absolute catastrophic destruction. According to Rahul, Mukherjee survived simply because he was hiding safely by the tree, and the severe trauma of seeing his wife incinerated is the real reason why he is now deeply terrified of the thunder and lightning.
Section 5. Unanswered questions.
As we wrap up our analysis, we're kind of forced to sit with this conflicting evidence and the massive cliffhanger we're left with. As the audience, we have to actively evaluate the unreliability of both narrators based on the lore we've just covered. I mean, who is actually telling the truth here? Is Mukherjee just a protective father who invented a ghost story to cope with the immense trauma of his wife's horrific lightning strike? Or is Rahul the cynical witness who completely ignores the village rules, just lying to manipulate a young boy? Both accounts explain the strict rule about turning off mobile phones, but they paint wildly different pictures of what the actual threat in the Black Rain really is.
You know, the real genius of the original source material by Shadow Scares isn't just the narrative itself, it's actually in how they formatted the release. The creators utilized a super clever cliffhanger metric, explicitly telling the audience they would only release the truth in Part 2 once the post hit 40 comments. It's a fantastic example of building active community engagement around a gripping, unsolved mystery, basically forcing the viewers to debate the conflicting evidence down in the comments section.
Which leaves us with one final, totally provocative question. What is the true secret behind the Black Rain? And, stranded at Rahul's house as a fresh storm begins to rage, will Chintu survive long enough to find out? The source material leaves us balancing right on a knife edge of suspense, questioning absolutely everything we thought we knew about the rules of Chaha Village. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep your curiosity sharp.